The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parno has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa, located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, JM, and Paul G.
It all was downhill after you left.
Well, of course.
You're the life of the party.
Oh, absolutely. And you got your sign
back.
back.
Some of them from Lake Forest. Yeah, we did get the sign back. It was, as I expected, it turned out to be a prank by some kids, and it was what they did, and this happens every year apparently. They grabbed a bunch of signs. It wasn't targeted towards any one person, and then they put them all in one person's yard. So kids will be kids, right? I mean, I'm sure you did some pranks when you were 18 too that you wouldn't do now.
No, not at all.
That's true with you. We never know.
What kid got all the signs?
As I said when I asked if anyone knew where he was, I said no questions asked, just return it. So all's well that ends well, because those signs aren't cheap. You spend. They don't give those for free. You have to pay for those things.
You can make them yourself, can't you?
Yeah, but you got to pay for that. You can't just. I can't. Well, you want me to sit there with a artwork and paint it myself?
What are you talking about? You run it through Canva, bam, $20. You got a sign.
Well, it's $20
versus 80.
Right, but I'm just saying, why should I pay $20 because somebody stole mine? It all ended well.
Okay.
And I get it. It's a prank and, whatever. And
kids will be kids. And
kids will be kids.
And
at least they're not doing drugs. So
just say no.
Say no, Nancy Reagan.
What happened to Amy Jacobson, Joe? Since we're waiting for everybody.
Cost-cutting move, apparently, over at WIMD. Our friend Dan Proff, former guest on the show.
Former?
Well, we can have. I mean, he was a guest on the show. I'm sure we can get. I don't know now. He's got twice as much work now to do because he's still there apparently.
He was carrying her all that time.
Oh, stop! It was.
Is she related to Walter?
No.
Okay.
She's not. She used to be. Remember, she was a TV reporter at a couple different Chicago stations, and she got in trouble because she showed up to Drew Peterson's house. Was it Drew Peterson? Remember the guy in
Yeah, yeah.
Bolingbrook? His wife went
Joliet.
missing, and or Joliet, wherever down there. And she showed up in a bikini because she found out her explanation was he called and said he'd give her an interview right now. So she left her swimming party that she was at and rushed over there, but it made it sound like she was doing something inappropriate, which turned out not to be the case. But
Interesting.
she she was let go. I first met her back in 1996 during a teacher's strike. She was covering it for I forgot what TV station, and I was on the board during a 2-week teacher strike. There was a very bitter teacher strike, and it was a top story in the Chicago News. That's how big it was back then.
Sure, she's not related to Jacobson because I think she was at
Walter,
CBS.
I don't think she is. I really don't. I think it's even, he might be spelled differently too. I've never heard that she's related,
I don't know. I didn't even know the show existed till you told me about it last year. So here we are. So now
You knew it existed. You heard them talking about Lake Forest mayoral election back when Prue was running against Randy.
that's what I'm talking about. When you came on that whole
Oh,
time period, I didn't.
all right. No,
Well,
I
whatever.
like Dan. I don't always agree with Dan. Dan's a little more conservative than me on most things, but he actually, people don't realize he's very supportive of Trump for the most part, but he was critical of Trump on the tariffs. So, because he's a free market guy.
Any anything else up with Proft?
Well, let's see how the show progresses now that it's just him. Sometimes you need, I mean, Steve Dahl needed Gary Meyer. Rokan needed Gary Meyer, but then when Gary Meyer went solo, whoa, didn't work out too well.
Yeah.
And same thing for Rowe. Um, but I don't know. We'll see how it works out with Dan. I mean, Dan gets good guests. He is a very deep conservative thinker. I give him that he goes beyond the flashy slogans that a lot of these other guys do.
Skoo Walker.
Good morning, gentlemen.
Look
Good
at that
morning.
sunshine
Sorry I'm
coming
late.
through, blinding me.
Blinded by the light.
I figured I had to jump on here. Everyone's telling me that I had a bunch of pot shots taken at me last week, and I got to come back on.
Who gave you pot shots?
Gee,
Starting with
Joe, I don't
Jeff,
know who.
myself, Joe.
Yeah, everyone.
Fourth of July in
I
tennis
gotta take. I
courts.
gotta say, you gotta take them in person.
Okay, let's go.
Let's do it.
Arrows out. What is the deal with beer jail? What is the beef, Skoo?
Well, the beef is history. The beef is what's always been done, and what the beer garden means to the community, and what it has always created, and to just haphazardly get rid of it
They
is,
didn't get
and
rid of it. They just
yeah,
moved
they
it.
did, Joe. Joe, they did. The whole concept of the beer garden is gone. They're
How is it
moving it
gone if it
over
just moved to the other side of the park?
because the beer garden, Joe, is the beer garden in the tennis courts. That's how it is. And, moving
Why?
it over to the park where the side of the park that's half the size as well. I mean, it's just, let me give you some history, Joe. So I know you're
All
new
right, let
and
me
you
get
don't
comfy. Go
have
ahead,
you
Skoo.
don't have the
Please
history.
educate me, Almighty Skoo.
Yeah, exactly. I'll educate you, Joe, because you don't educate yourself on Lake Forest. You just ramble about stuff that has to be done. The,
Okay.
the history of the beer garden. First off, way back when there used to be a train ride for the kids in there that you jump on that train, and then there's a beer garden in there that parents could go to, and it's always been there. It is a
They
right
got
of.
rid of the train ride. Did that ruin it?
They didn't get rid of the train ride, Joe.
Oh, they didn't? You just said they used to have a train ride.
They used to, and then years ago, they now have a different train ride. So, Joe,
All
let
right.
me finish instead of you popping in and popping
All
off about
right.
all
Go
this
Yeah,
ahead.
different
yeah,
stuff.
Joe.
Go
That's,
ahead.
that's kind of the problem.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt the Historical Preservation Commission meeting. Go ahead.
It's not that, Joe. See, you always want
Continue,
to
Art.
twist stuff to politics and all this. Instead of just
I
listening,
didn't
Continue,
twist
Art
it to
Miller.
politics. Go ahead.
enjoying the yeah, Art Miller. The beer garden's always been a rite of passage for people in Lake Forest. As you're a kid, as you're turning 21, it's always kind of can't wait to get into the beer garden. And Joe, just to clarify, the beer garden is the tennis courts. Always has been, always will be. And to move it over to a tiny area where there's a little tent is not the same thing. Whether you want to believe that or not, it's not. And that's why there's so much angst and people pissed off about it. Again, no reason to change it
Why are we moving it again?
because, well, again, giving you some history on West Park and the tennis courts have been there for years. Since I was a young kid, the tennis courts have been there. And every so often, every year, they have to have them, not every year, but every whatever it is, resurfaced, which it's a public park. You resurface it and you move on. For some reason this year, they decided to put, as Joe says, spend $500,000 putting professional grade tennis court down.
That's not me saying it, it's the city saying it.
And our wonderful mayor who plays tennis decides that nobody can go on it. You know, that's a
I don't know. I
decision
don't think he unilaterally did that. I think the city staff and the park director made that decision
okay,
because of the
in
$500,000
conjunction with
investment.
and it's a tennis court, Joe. When is the next pro circuit coming to Lake
I
Forest
mean,
West
look, we
to
can,
play
as I
on the
said,
tennis courts? So
we
anyway,
can.
so
All right, you
anyway,
finish.
so for some reason this year the beer garden is gone. It's going to a tent to, buy beer, whatever. It's a bad decision. It's tradition. It's history. It's the whole fabric of part of Lake Forest Day. People come to Lake Forest Day. They come back home for reunions to meet their friends that they grew up with. And the destination is not just Lake Forest Day, it's the beer garden. And if you go and participate, now you talk to people that are new to they don't, oh, well, whatever. I go to the park for the festival and then because my kids and now, I don't really go into the beer garden. The beer garden is full every year. And it's a place to re-meet, reconnect with people that you went to school with. Tons of reunions are focused around Lake Forest Day. And the destination is that. The destination as you're growing up in Lake Forest is once I turn 21, I can go to the beer garden. Whether you want to believe that or not, it's fact. And I did it, friends did it, and they continue to do it. Kids growing up, they're go once I go 21, I can meet in the beer garden with my college friends, whatever. It's a destination. Where they want to put it now, it's not. It will not be. It'll be a disaster. You're a stone's throw from houses. You're going to put a band right across. Joe, the beer garden where the bands were before are further distance from homes in that area than where it's going right now. And
But they
that's
have a whole carnival by their house now. I don't think
again,
it's going to be
Joe,
that different
you're
for
making
those
broad
houses.
statements. I'm talking about
So
where
are
the
you.
beer garden is, where it's going to go, where they're putting the band. I mean, Joe, I don't think you would love to have a band playing right across the street from your house.
There's a
Would you?
carnival across the street from their house now, Skoo, for one night out of
Not the,
365. I
Joe,
have
tonight.
weddings every
Joe,
other
Joe,
weekend across
Joe,
from my
just
house. I don't
Joe,
mind it.
Joe, just reiteration of your lack of knowledge. You just said it's one night, it's two nights.
Okay, 2 nights. I'm sorry.
It's two
Okay,
nights. It
my
used
bad,
to
Skoo.
be, it
Two
used to
nights,
be
which is
one
what
night.
out of
It
365 days in a
it
year?
used to
What
be one
percentage?
night. It used
Okay,
to be one night,
two
and
nights.
they
My
changed it.
my apology. You're
Well,
right.
I'm just saying, Joe.
Yeah, yeah, no, no, no,
I
no,
go
no. You're
off the
right. I'll
show
give
for
you that.
1 week, and you're spewing all this incorrect stuff. I got to
Okay,
come back
two
on.
nights out of the whole year.
Right.
It gets
Historically,
moved.
forever.
It's not being canceled. It'd be one thing
Didn't
if
say
they
it
said
was.
no beer garden anymore. We're
Didn't
not going
say
to
it
have
was.
this.
In essence, it
It's
is
being
canceled
moved.
when you remove the beer
So
garden as it
let's
is.
here's my thing. Look, obviously I don't have the years of tradition that you do, and I
That not
respect
just
that.
me, Joe. Everyone that has grown up here and everyone that's bitching about it.
Fair enough.
Why are we on the
Fair
podcast?
enough.
First thing is why is everyone bitching about the beer garden? Obviously an issue. Big issue.
Because
With
people are very resistant to change, and I
No, that's
understand
not
that. I
true,
can
Joe.
No.
respect
That's
that.
not true. That's not true, Joe. You
Let's
spin
see.
everything to like, oh, it's all about change. Change is good. When you change stuff that's not broken,
Wait,
it's not
Skoo, you're
broken.
saying change is good?
Sure,
Okay.
in the right sense, it is.
Well,
But to change stuff because you just feel like it individually
Wasn't because they
is
feel like it, is because they had to balance that with a $500,000.
why they
That's
spend
not
five
my
hundred thousand dollars, Joe. They
that's the
that's what's in the budget, and it was
Joe,
discussed in
let
a
me give you
public meeting.
let me give you some more
It was
history.
discussed at a council meeting.
Let me give some. They didn't discuss it.
Yeah, they
They
did. They
didn't.
voted on it. You don't just do
Yeah,
that. You had to
the
vote on it.
city
Go
council
find it.
voted on it. The city
Right.
council voted on it with no opposition because nothing was really presented that, oh, we're doing a, Joe, again, some history. And I know you don't like
Hey,
saying this
Art.
because I was on the rec board and I can talk about being on a board unlike you. So when I was on the rec board, we did resurface the tennis courts, not at $500,000 and not to the fact that you removed the beer garden because of that. But to change it all of a sudden, and now we got, according to, a professional grade redo of the tennis courts for half, that's a joke. That's a joke. And then on top of it, oh, by the way, that wasn't discussed that we're removing the beer garden when we're approving this. Just like the fields, when the fields were done, the discussions were the fireworks weren't going there, and there's going to be programs generating revenue for the use of the park. That is, first thing they did is fireworks at the park, and there's no generated revenue outside of the current base for the park use. So again, just kind of history on it. But again, more importantly, there's nothing wrong with having the beer garden in the tennis courts, except that one person, Randy, wants to continue to change stuff. Joe, Randy's the
I don't
one
think
that
it's one
pushed it.
person.
Okay. You tell me the mayor doesn't go in
You're the one that told me it didn't matter who won the last mayoral election, that the
are
city
you
runs
telling me
itself.
that going into executive session, the mayor can't push the council
The
to
mayor,
his
the
way?
mayor has the bully pulpit of the
Yeah,
office. You're
exactly.
correct.
Exactly.
But
So,
the
and
staff, I think it was
when
the
I
staff
hear
that
from
came
other
with that.
people
Professional staff.
within the community, within the knowledge base of this, and I'm told that, then you have a different feel on it. But there's no reason to remove the beer garden. What is having the beer garden in there going to do to the tennis courts?
You have how many people would you say come to the beer garden?
Oh, I don't know.
Give me
I don't have
a
I don't have the
about a
ticket.
number, a head
I
count,
don't have the
roughly.
kicker, Joe, but
I'll,
let me tell you, I go to
You
the beer
say it's
garden
busy
and
every year. So
it's
what's the
full every
number?
year. It's full
Okay,
every
it's
year.
full. So
Yeah.
1,000 people.
Okay. I don't
All
know.
right. You put 1,000 people carrying liquor and a band and all of that, all the stuff that goes with a beer garden. That's different than a kid riding his bike or a
How
dog or
come
a bird
how come
pooping
it
on
how
it.
come it changes this year after what 60, 70 plus years of it? How does that change now?
Because the city made a decision, right or wrong, that we
Wrong.
were going to have a $500,000 tennis court. Now, but that
And
train's
oh
left the
boy,
station, Skoo.
Joe, by the way, that professional grade tennis court it's impossible. If you go over to West Park, if you venture this way, and you see that it's incredible the lines waiting outside to play in those courts. I mean, it's incredible.
Okay, the usage of
All
the
the pro
facility
tournaments going
is
in.
a fair question,
It's
but
zero. It's zero. And Joe, here's the thing.
okay,
The problem with the city when they do stuff, then
like, well,
city,
I've never seen a letter.
I'm not against the city on anything. I just question some of the stuff they do, and I've always have. But when you have discussions with the community about it, now here's my other thing. In the community, when a person wants to renovate their home or anything, their flyers are sent out to all the neighbors to come talk about what's going to be done on that house. I don't know if it happens out in West Lake Forest, but typically it's that
It
you
did
have
with
a meeting
Elva.
on it. So typically, so let's say they're going to renovate the tennis courts in the West Park neighborhood. You would think that flyers would go out to the community saying, "Hey, listen, there's going to be a lot of construction, and this is going to be done, and blah blah blah." Not at the city council meeting when it's, oh, let's pass it. I mean, when it gets to city council, Joe, and you have it in front of city council and you're discussing it,
Was there a zoning
you could
change?
have the entire community storm the council and make change and say this is wrong. They're not going to do it. They're not going to change. They have a set agenda to pass it. So here's the thing. That was not, and on top of it, in these so-called discussions, not one, I will bet you, Joe, a beer at your favorite establishment that
Duffers.
not once did someone say, hey, you know what? We're going to put professional grade tennis courts at West Park. It's going to cost $500,000, and we're going to remove the beer garden from there.
You may be right on that point. But that said,
If that
it's
was the
been
case,
done.
if that was communicated,
But
you would
now,
see this
but
now that
Skoo,
people were up in arms about it.
okay,
Just
it
say
is a it is a fair discussion, and I've said this for years about parks in general building all these facilities because the original intent of park districts and park departments when they were first created years and years ago was to preserve open land in urban and suburban environments for parks. It then evolved into building rec centers and swimming pools and golf courses and tennis courts and pickleball and all the other things that get built. And it's a fair question as a public policy discussion. Is that an appropriate use of tax dollars when there are private clubs that can do it? And there's private golf courses, there's private fitness clubs. Why is tax dollars being used to subsidize something that's competing against private entities? Fair question, fair
well,
ask.
the difference
That
is, Joe,
said,
there's differences between park districts and park departments. Lake Forest is a park
correct.
department, gets a
Right. The difference
portion
is that the city
of
runs it instead of an elected park board.
not only that, Joe, it's the funding of the rec department and is funded
Is a
by a
line item in
small
the budget.
portion, a small portion of taxpayer dollars, and it's set aside and in the funds and all that
Correct.
stuff to grow. Now, the little thing that's kind of changed is a parks department like the city, the main concept of that is not make money. Unlike a park district, it's not to make money. It's offering
And money.
Not many park districts make money. Most of them make their
let
money
me
off of
finish my point.
property
You'll
tax.
see, right. It's not their point to make money, Joe. It's to offer programming to the community at a
Subsidized with tax dollars.
at a nominal price that covers fees and all that stuff. This changed years ago to say, you have to be, i.e., the golf course was going to get dumped because they weren't making enough money. That's not the concept of that. That's a park district that they raise their own money through taxes and generate stuff and can do all this stuff. But a parks department like the city, a rec department like the city, it's not the parks department, the rec department has to generate money, obviously, in other forms and ways to do it. But you're running on a very tight budget. And to sit there and say, okay, now, and that's why, the rec department's responsible. You come say it could be the parks department responsible for upgrading fields and tennis courts and all that. But to all of a sudden outlay $500,000, we have tennis courts at every park in the community, and what is it, 5-10 years that they have to be resurfaced. It goes through the budget process at the rec board level, and it's decided, okay, this is what it's going to cost to resurface Waveland or Cherokee or West Park. Nominal dollars, $500,000 to resurface West Park.
Again,
Let me tell you, I go there all the time, Joe,
public
and
policy,
you don't have to put
a
professional
legitimate
grade. You just
public policy,
resurface it.
a
There's not
legitimate
enough people that use the tennis courts to allocate that much money where it can go somewhere else into the rec department for budgeting and funding and all that.
to
$500,000.
lower our taxes, even
No,
though
Joe,
the city's
because
very good about not
Joe, it's
raising our
not
taxes,
that
unlike the school
$500,000
district.
isn't really
It'll pay the
hitting our
grocery
taxes,
tax.
Joe. That's not really hitting our taxes. That's coming out of a different fund that's already there. The rec department did not have $500,000 of excess money to spend. Are you kidding me? If that's really truly,
I'm just saying, look, you could
Come
make
on.
a public policy case that government, whether it's a park district or a city, should not use tax dollars for facilities other than just preserving
Totally
open
agree.
land.
But this
Okay,
was not tax dollars.
but that ship has sailed.
Okay,
Okay. And
that's
meanwhile, if you sit on the council today, you have a
I do say
fiduciary
yes. Yes,
responsibility,
yes,
excuse me, you have a
yes,
fiduciary
yes.
responsibility to
Omnibud.
protect the assets of the city. Okay?
Okay.
Maybe we shouldn't have built a $500,000 tennis
Then
court,
the city
but now that
council
you
has
have it,
failed.
you have to
Now the city
protect it.
council has failed. No, you don't have to. Joe, here's how you protect it. As a business owner, if I'm going to allocate a $500,000 on a spend, what am I going to generate revenue wise to offset that?
Tournaments.
Waiting. I'm waiting.
Tournaments.
Zero. So you want to do that
What about
expense
that guy from
allocate.
Gurnee? What's that
That's
guy
why you
from
want to
Gurnee
do
doing?
that expense allocation as low as you can to
Professionalizing the park
provide
department.
the community with a resurface usable tennis court, not a professional $500,000. You can't tell me, let's just say if it's 150 grand to resurface court, maybe 200 grand to resurface with just normal stuff. You're telling me the rec department could not have used that additional 300,000?
How much did it cost the city to redo Deer Path Golf Course?
That was a public private. I'm not sure. Millions, yeah.
Okay. I mean, you could apply that same
But
logic
Joe, here's the
to
thing is,
why should we
here's the
spend
thing
money
with
on a
the
golf course?
here's the thing with the golf course. It was public private, and a bulk of that money came from the private sector donations.
That's great.
And
Maybe they should have done that with the tennis court. Maybe they should have done that. I don't know how,
they
but
should have that they didn't, and there was no reason to do
okay,
it.
fair
That's our
question.
mayor pushing his agenda to the council to vote for this to get it done. He's a tennis guy.
Okay.
I've never seen the guy at West Park. He's at his club playing tennis. Come on,
I,
seriously.
I think you're
Really?
putting this all on one
I
individual.
am the mayor, yeah, because he
And
controls it top down. Jason has say in it too, but why? Where's that discussion of,
in
no
the
one
park,
was
I mean, you
fighting.
have a professional
No
staff that
one was fighting and discussing $500,000 to resurface. Oh, it's $500,000 because there's a professional grade.
you want you want a new rec center, right?
Everyone does, yeah. Has to be.
You wanted, I assume you wanted the Deer Path Golf Course to be redone like it
It
was.
was, and it was done
Okay.
spectacularly.
I don't disagree that it was done spectacularly. It was, but
Thank you, Brew.
again, back to my point
She
is,
couldn't find her way
should
there.
tax dollars be used for any of that stuff other than just keeping open land so every square inch of the city doesn't get developed with a
So
building?
again, you're missing the point. You keep going to this. Well, no one wants all the public. The golf course is completely different from what happened. Is a public-private venture to keep
Right.
a treasured piece of the community going. And Joe, again, that golf course, if people didn't step up when they, again, the city council at that time went in the dark of night, and they were one vote away from wiping out the golf course, and people found out about it.
So
Okay.
again, and
No,
I
no,
think
this
it's
was in the
great that
dark
we
night.
have.
This was in the dark night. All of a sudden, it was like, first it was like, okay, the tennis courts need to be resurfaced. West Park did. It was cracked. You couldn't play there.
So you're saying it
No
did
other
need to be
park has a
redone?
professional grade though, Joe. Every time a park tennis court was resurfaced, it was resurfaced with the money, not $500,000. No one's going to use that to
Fair, fair
get
point.
that
Fair
money.
point.
And
But that
again,
said,
Joe, the excess money that probably could have been spent, could have went down to improving the rec center and other things that they
can you
do
two
need.
take
or could have been done to lower my taxes to make
Can
up
you
for
take a
Matt Montgomery's
breather?
It's
tax
not
hike.
taxes, Joe.
take a
It's not
sip of
taxes.
take a sip of water.
It's not
So
tax. You
so
keep going to taxes.
But that money could have been used to lower the taxes. Any public funds can be reallocated for property tax relief if the count
Why would
if
they
you choose.
reallocate it when the current department needs improvements on stuff?
I'm looking at
Again,
a
why do you need all
map.
that stuff?
I'm
Why do
looking
you
at
need improvements on stuff? You need it because you're providing a service to the community, Joe.
That could
And
be
that's,
provided by the private sector.
it could be. That's one of the greatest things that's created, a public-private sector
Correct.
joint
But
ventures
you
to
could
get
turn it
stuff.
completely over to the private sector.
And
You could
they
say we're
could
going to
have.
get out of the
They
business of
tried.
running rec centers and
Joe,
tennis courts and swimming
they
pools.
tried doing
We don't have a
this.
swimming pool.
They tried doing this with the foundation. and the foundation completely, they've gone off course of
Well,
what
the
they were
foundation
doing in
did
the
a
first place.
wonderful job funding the walkway at the beach. I mean, I think everyone likes that.
They funded it,
So
or they took in the money
helped.
and managed. Yeah, yeah. How much money
Okay,
did the
whatever.
foundation kick into it?
I think they. I mean, all right.
The foundation is just a entity that's taking in. It's a nonprofit that can take this contributions and all that. They don't. Their people on their board aren't donating thousands of dollars to
I
the.
didn't say that. I
Yeah,
just said they're
but that,
helping, they're raising money through
right,
private means, which
right.
holding a concert and a fireworks
Uh,
display and
uh,
people
the
people
city's
people
funding that.
voluntarily purchasing tickets for that. And I hope everyone purchases a ticket for it this weekend. It's going to be great.
Can
But the
The ABBA
but
backup
now,
band.
but Skoo, all of that
I
is
think they updated the
in
webpage.
the
I think it's a
abstract.
different
But
band.
now you have a piece of property that you have an obligation to protect the investment.
Okay,
Guys, I'm zoning
okay,
out.
And
okay. That's
look,
fine.
I
Joe,
love a
I'm
beer
not. I'm
garden.
not arguing.
I've
Joe, I'm
spent
not
the
arguing. I'm not
I've
arguing
spent every
protecting
year
the
that I lived
asset.
here in the beer
Lake
garden.
Forest Day is
It's
not going
really
to
nice.
ruin the tennis court.
I
Not. It's not.
Obviously, some professional said it would.
Who?
Okay, maybe we
Who
can
was
get
in
a
that
little more.
discussion? Randy?
Probably the park department. Probably somebody that
I,
knows a
I
lot more
the
highly,
about,
kid
I
the
or
kid
the
from
public
highly
works
Gurnee.
doubt that, Joe.
department. There's
Joe, I
probably
highly
somebody
doubt that.
working, Scoot. There's probably a city employee with a hell of a lot more knowledge about property management than you or me
And Gurnee.
that says this is not good for this asset going forward.
Okay, are they gonna? Are
Okay, and
they
maybe we
gonna?
shouldn't have had it
Hey
there all
Joe,
those years with the old
maybe to
courts.
protect the tennis courts.
Maybe it shouldn't have been
Maybe.
there those years with the
Hey
tennis
Joe,
courts.
you know what the number one reason outdoor facilities wear down?
Volcanoes.
Weather.
Weather.
Sure.
Weather. And what are they gonna? What's the city gonna do to protect?
Obviously, you can't, but you
Nothing.
can
No,
control
no, you
keeping
can't.
1,000 people carrying alcohol from being on the court. You can do
Okay.
that. Okay.
Well,
So
by not
they've made a
having they
professional
you can
decision to
put
do that.
down flooring in there if you want to.
Again,
The city's been offered flooring to put down there, and they don't use it. It was
They do it
offered
for
what,
to
like
Soldier
they can
Field.
fill
some
the entire tennis
AstroTurf or
court.
something? Some roll up.
No, it's a flooring that they can lay down and
You do a
take off.
concert at Soldier Field, same thing.
It-
I'm
it-
looking.
it-
Again, I'd like to get a
uh,
little more of the professional insight into
Joe,
why it needs to be
there's
protected.
no one at the city. Let's be honest. Come on, Joe. There's no one at the city who said, "Oh, you know what? I'm an expert in professional outdoor tennis courts, and this is what we should use." No,
No, they didn't
there's
say
not.
it that way, but they probably said, we just spent a lot of money on this thing. We ought to take care of it as best we
Yeah,
can.
and
We
they've been
can't
offered.
you're
They've
correct.
been
You can't
offered a.
control the weather. You
They
can't
haven't.
control
They've
bird
been
droppings. You
offered,
can't control
Joe.
random
No,
kids on their
no.
bikes,
They've been
but you can
offered a
control keeping 1,000
flooring.
people off of it.
They've been offered a flooring that they can put on it, and they don't want to do
Well,
it.
let's look. I don't think moving it. It would have been one thing if they said no more beer garden, no more beer garden. We're done with beer
In
garden.
essence, they are, Joe. In essence, they are.
They're just
Because
moving it to the other side of
besides
the
having
park, and I think everything will be fine.
besides having a tent so someone can buy beer, the whole concept is, and then you got to go over here if you want to talk to people or go over here. The whole concept is all right there.
Gentlemen, may
We'll
I?
see. We'll
May
see.
I? May I,
We'll see.
gentlemen? Okay. Skoo, I hate to interrupt your Hallmark daydream here, but when I've worked the beer tent, I've torn tickets and, gone through it.
I worked it with you when you
That is,
were when you were in love with the Legion and everything they did until they
I
dumped
love,
your party.
hey,
Then you went ballistic.
when I get new information, I change my mind. What do you do, sir? So here's where I'm at. Number one, I don't know about 1,000 people when I've been there. Now, albeit I'm there earlier, not later, but I see that thing 25% full. It's a big, hot, enclosed. It's almost like a doggy park for people. Now, Jeff Urso was on the show the other week, and he said there's a triangle of property on Summit and
Correct.
Woodland there. Do you agree with him on that, Skoo? I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, I mean, If it's,
I thought that's where they were moving it, was
the
the
whole,
summit.
no, Joe, look at the video. No, the whole issue is, rain and being in the slop and all that. Now, in that triangle there, it could work, but here's the thing. The beauty about the tennis courts is security. One in, one out. You can't get in and out. And they're going to have to beef up security because they're not going to be able to fence off like the tennis court, that area. But the other thing is, I mean, yeah, it could be good right there. That's a great way to do it. But why Randy didn't decide that, or that's to go where it's going. If you go to the park and see where it's going, it's no, they're and all the tents they're putting there. That's the thing. It's just for people to go and enjoy it, that's just not going to happen. I mean, it's going to be in and out, and
we'll have to just
see.
show
We'll
up.
see.
We'll show up with
We'll
our
see.
cameras, and we'll perch there with our radar gun.
Did Howard Van Doren Shaw drink in the beer tent back in the day?
I don't know, Joe. I wasn't there then, but I can guarantee you
right.
it is a
that would
it
does
is
it
a
meet the
rite of
17
passage
standards
for
of
a
the
lot of these
historical
people in the
preservation
community.
rules?
And I can guarantee you, Joe, as your kid turning 21, I bet you when his
Next
friends
year.
and all that. Well, next year, I mean, one of their things. Let's if he has buddies,
Yeah, and they'll have a good time.
Let's
no
go to
matter
the
where
beer
they are.
garden. We can go to the beer garden.
Pete, Skoo, with all due respect, every 21-year-old kid in Lake Forest will have a good time no matter where they can drink. Okay.
So
but yeah, it's a destination, Joe. If you understood history and all that, that's but you don't
I
understand the history of
but
Lake
but
Forest.
Skoo,
You fail to understand it.
you sound like the HPC people now, or
No? Okay.
you do, because you have to balance history with progress.
And I'm
And
doing that. But Joe, nothing is broke.
nothing was broke when we built Market Square 100 years ago. But somebody had the idea to build Market Square.
Market Square, again, was not broke. There was never there. They created
Right, but
big difference.
you dislocated those poor farmers.
No, you didn't.
Hey, you guys, why don't you
Whatever.
take some of that wind and why don't we
You need to
update
get Art
people?
Miller. You need to
What's
get Art Miller back on so he can educate Joe.
I've watched the old Art Miller show. I run
I-
into Art. He lives over at Lake Forest Place. I've run into him a couple times walking.
That's the west side for you. So
By the way, the west and east side all determined of town. It's West Lake Forest because it's west of town. It's East Lake Forest is east of town. Just to south, just
Is it fake? Am I fake forest over here?
Joe, again, fake forest was created by Libertyville people back in the day, sports and all that. Lake Forest, the entire town was, and still is by some outsiders, called fake forest. So, Joe, no, again, you're not fake forest because
I've heard kids in my daughter's class refer to where we live as fake forest.
they are
West Lake
correct.
Forest. It's West Lake Forest. And just another kind of tidbit for you, Joe. Several years ago, West Lake Forest wanted to annex themselves into their own town.
Whoa, interesting. Hey, since I read off the Friends of Park and Rec webpage last week that didn't get updated on 4th of July, could somebody,
The ABBA group?
could somebody, I got a little bit fricasseed for that. Could somebody give the town an update?
I got fricasseed too in that because, are you still on that webcast? Don't they know anything about anything? I mean, ABBA was last year.
the change of
I know.
whatever. So what is going on 4th of July then? Does anybody have the right information?
It's a Taylor Swift.
It's up there now.
It's a Taylor Swift.
Then read it off, Joe.
Yeah,
Okay.
It's a Taylor Swift cover.
Okay. What day?
Taylor Swift cover. Yeah, I saw
Friday.
that. Whatever.
Okay.
Probably, the Taylor
There you
Swift
go,
cover will
viewers
probably
and
draw
listeners.
more people. It'll probably be
Well,
more.
it
I
is.
mean, none of
We'll
us
talk
like
40 minutes
Taylor
on
Swift,
tennis
but
courts,
there's a whole
4th of
there's
July,
a whole
we won't
age.
tell you shit.
They might have
There's-
Pete up there, playing
There's
bass.
a whole age.
I
don't think
Look,
so.
none of Taylor's. There's a whole age group that loves Taylor Swift for whatever
God,
reason. None of us do, but there is
It's
a
got to
large.
be pretty. It's got to be
She's,
pretty.
out,
cheap
she's the
because they
number one
lowered-
selling artist in the world. We'll
It
see.
must
We'll
not
see
be
what it does.
that good because they've lowered the cost almost like in half.
You know,
It's because Joe told
You'll have to-
everybody his secret.
We'll be on the tennis courts watching the fireworks.
All right, since you guys won't do anything, let's see. Like July 4th Festival and Fireworks, 7/4/25. This is off of the lfparksandrec.com site. Time 5 o'clock. Deer Path Community Park. Spend your 4th of July holiday under the stars at the 18th annual. Only 18?
After the parade, everyone go to the Lake Bluff parade.
This is a
Greatest
rain
Good
good
or,
time. We should have had a float in the Lake Bluff parade, Pete.
rain or shine event. 5 o'clock, 5 to 10 o'clock. There you go. Deer Path Community Park, 400 Hastings.
The highlight of the Lake Bluff parade is the mowers unit. Is that what they're called, Skoo? The mowers?
Love
Yep.
those guys. They're just so damn shy.
It'll be interesting this year what they pull out of their hat.
When Lake Bluff passed
their mower.
when Lake Bluff passed the gas-powered leaf blower ban, they had a sign that said Lake Forest still blows.
I got to tell you, that parade, that Lake Bluff parade is it's nationally renowned, but one of the greatest events.
Isn't it like 4 minutes?
No,
No,
I thought
my daughter was in it
it's
for the
serpentines down and through the community, the town.
yeah, down that main street there. What
And
is
it's
that?
probably, the bands have gotten to be close to 100, participants. So it's a
People
long
sit
one.
out, and
But the beauty
people
of
that
it,
have the
you can-
houses there
You
have little
can walk
parties.
down and
It's nice.
serpentine the whole parade route in every house, welcoming, come in, have a drink,
Yeah.
talk. Rarely do you see that anywhere anymore.
Skoo
But-
back to
Shout
parks.
out to Lake Bluff.
What?
Trusty
Why?
Mary Cole.
Okay. So back to Parks and Rec, Skoo. Why don't we have a swimming pool in Lake Forest? Can't you see like one of those
Never happened.
nice
We
ones?
got one. It's called Lake Michigan.
When you try to ring that bell 4 or 5 times and the
Yeah.
community doesn't want it, never going to happen.
But everybody says they want it, or they email and say they want it. They don't want it that bad, I guess, or
Everyone says they want a professional grade tennis court, and they got it.
Somehow it
maybe they
appears.
will. Pete, no one wants it because 1, you have the beach, and number 2, everyone has their own club they go to.
oh. But what
So
about
why
the
would,
workers?
people are
Like-
gonna, huh?
Well, Lake Forest was built on the premise that the people that have to work in Lake Forest, you have to give them stuff to do. So I would think you would have
Oh,
a public pool for the
Oh yeah,
workers.
but I can guarantee you that has changed. That demographic has changed tenfold. I mean, I could probably tell you in
Let me work the math.
one hand who lives in Lake Forest that works for the city.
But what do you call those pools that have where the water drops off at the edge? You don't think you can have a pool right by the park there? Charge a
Well,
little
they
extra
spend a
for
lot of
that?
money for the out in Westlake Forest there at the by Conway, the
The
water
land?
pad or whatever they have there.
The what?
You can go there. Well,
Oh, splash
no, it's in
pad.
your neck of the woods. Out at the park across from
Now they call Conway fake forest. I've heard that one.
the park across from Lake Forest Academy. They put a splash pad down there last year. Pete,
Oh.
drive out there, take a pic. Joe, you're right in the neighborhood there. Go
Yeah.
stand in the little water drops. You can really enjoy that.
I'll bring the kids.
But the pool's never going to get there. Never.
Fine with me. I
Never.
mean, like
Rarely
I
say
said,
never, but it's not going to happen.
I question, like
part
I
of the
said, I
reason
question the
why-
spending of all the
Part of
tax
the
dollars
reason
on
why
any
the
of
rec
this stuff.
was
but
put where it was the hope that a pool could go there, and it tried to
Well, I'm
they tried
bringing it up.
referendum.
does the high school have a pool?
Yeah, it's open to the public.
There you go.
That's part of the reason why that pool. the
Nothing
name
like going
was
inside.
Was
I guess
established.
Is that still? Are you still allowed though? Are they letting members of the public go
Unfortunately,
into
I think the
school?
public can go and use the pool. It's really at like 3 a.m. to 3:30, but in the morning.
Because I
But
mean,
yes,
I
it's
would
open
not.
to the public.
I mean, with all the school safety issues, I would not want like just
That
any
was one
schmuck
of
off the street
back-
coming into
back
a
in-
swimming pool when kids are in the building.
back in that referendum day when they redid that was part of the guarantee to the community, since they were going to be whacked with taxes, was that the community could use the pool. And I mean, they can, but very limited.
every other Tuesday,
$1,000 tax hike going.
2:30 in the morning.
But no, the pool, you'd love to see it, but then again, you got Lake Bluff too. So Lake Bluff is renovating theirs, and for years, as long as that's been there, it's been shared and it works well. I
So
mean,
there's like an intergovernmental agreement or something with that, or
no, you can buy a pass.
Yeah,
get the
Lake
resident
Forest
rate.
pays.
You can buy a pass, and if you live in Lake Forest or Lake Bluff, I think they've
Yeah.
relaxed their struggle with Lake Forest and Lake Bluff, that you can, Lake Bluff Pass, I think is still considered Lake Forest Pass. Lake Forest can get a same pass as Lake Bluff.
Is it true Lake Bluff has alligator arms?
What?
They don't pay?
They don't pay what? Oh, you're trying to drum up that issue from months and months ago that was false?
I don't know if
Well, I believe Alderman Goshgarian brought it up as an issue.
Yeah,
Oh, that's true.
and
Council
proven,
meeting.
and he retracted that because he said he was wrong on that. So that's
Oh, he
interesting.
did?
Okay.
On your
Era,
show.
the airing of grievances. Or I'm sorry, ARA.
All right, here's my beef.
Yeah.
So did you know in the last 18 years, inflation, consumer price index, whatever you want to call it, prices in general have gone up 52%. In that same time period, our property taxes for School District 115 have gone up 89% and District 67, 71%.
But they have a shared system of leadership, Joe.
Yeah, so it would have been even higher if they hadn't had that, I guess. I mean, that's if you want to. I mean, the city didn't raise my property taxes $1,000. The school district did, and I understand it was a referendum that passed by 100 votes. But
All right, so no
Just saying.
pool, no beer jail.
I mean, if you go back to the
still
pool,
a beer jail, just a
if they
different
can, if they
location.
can do a pool, they should put the pool right in that
I'm going to
open
meet
space
you
down
at the
at
new
beach.
beer. Are you going to boycott the new beer garden, or are you going to go and see what it's like?
No, I'll go. I'm not saying
All right,
I don't
let's
boycott.
go. I'll buy you a beer and I'll hear what you have to say that night.
You're
How's
what?
that?
Speaking of alligator arms,
I'll buy you a beer.
Well, he is half.
just give me a ticket. No, I'm saying if
Joe's
a
half
pool,
frugal.
what they should do, Pete, at
Maybe
the
it's more
beach-
business for Hey, I know Jeff's not on the show this week, but maybe it's a conspiracy to give Jeff Urso and the Lantern and Chiefs more business because people will just go drink there.
No, Lake Forest Day generates a lot of business for Jeff as well as the Lantern because
Sure.
more people come into town to celebrate as well as reunions, and that's not only the beer garden but the destinations after the beer garden.
Yeah, it's a wonderful thing. I know some
there's
people
a
are upset about the
gigantic-
food.
There's a
Are you upset?
gigantic.
We haven't talked
all-class-
about the food thing.
There's a gigantic all-class reunion every year at South Park
Yeah, I've seen them.
that is open to all,
That's
people.
great.
But yeah, the food, Joe. The other thing is getting rid of the Legion serving burgers and hot dogs. That's a joke too. They're
I
cutting
saw
their
a
ways
couple
to-
of people online saying they weren't that good, the burgers and hot dogs.
They weren't, but it's
I'd rather
still
have a food truck. But
yeah. But
the
if the
question will
Legion
be,
can
can
make
a food
if the
truck
Legion
keep
can
up?
make money doing that, all more power. That's the whole purpose. That's their fundraiser.
Fair point.
And
So let's see how it goes.
The food trucks. I mean, I don't know the city push for these food trucks, but they're expensive, and they've tried it at the music stuff, and it just people go, oh wow, it's like the lobster guy was
I
there
will
a couple of
say,
years ago,
at
and
the
they're asking
home,
for $15 for a lobster sandwich. It's like, okay,
I know
wow.
you're up. I know you're up in the booth doing a great job calling the football games, but Jeff does the service tremendously improved in the food service at the football games when Jeff Urso
But Jeff's
took
not
over.
a food truck.
Right, and that's why I'm saying maybe they should have brought him in to set up like he does at the football games. That would have, because I think Jeff does a nice
Microwave
job
station.
serving things.
The good thing is that Pasquazi's will be there, but
That's great. Good for them.
That's a question we should ask Jeff is, at the music stuff on Thursday, why don't they pop a tent there?
I do think they should get local, that they should
Why doesn't the
give a
Lantern?
preference
Lantern
to
never
local.
the Lantern never wants to pop a tent, but they don't have to because people at the
Well, it's
Lantern
their choice.
live right there. Yeah.
I think you give them a choice, and
Governments
if
don't know how
Blanchard
to run
doesn't
a
want to do
business.
it, that's fair. But I think you try to give a preference to local businesses at these things
Because
anyway.
when you do it, you got to give the city some sugar to do it.
Well, and I think that's a fair discussion to have, that
It's
balancing the
enormous.
revenue with, in the long run, there's more revenue for the city when you promote a local business because more people then see it and go
Right.
to it. That
That,
somebody might go to the carnival and have something from a local business for the first time and say, "That's great. Let's go there next week to the actual business." So I
you
think in
tell
the
me
long
that
run,
talk about the beach. You tell me that Pasquazi's or the Lantern or Duffers or anything like that can't cut a deal to manage the food at the beach.
I think they should. I think they should figure out a
You
way
know
to
why they
make that
can't,
work.
Joe? Because the city asked too much money back to use it. It might
Well,
have
again,
changed. It might have changed. It used to be like 30% of the
I mean,
revenue
I'd
went to
like
the
to see what
city.
the numbers are, but my inclination offhand is that's penny wise and pound foolish, because in the long run, you want to promote local businesses. So put a local business there so people coming to the beach
Yeah, but
enjoy
Joe,
it and then
as
go
you
back
know,
to it later on.
running a business, you have to make a certain amount over
Sure.
what you're doing. And if your expenses at the beach are X, because a bulk of it is you're giving it to the city just to use it, and the city is the
Fair
one that
point.
the city should be the one going, hey, listen, this is promoting our community, and instead, we're not going to, take all your.
How did you may not know that? Do you know what the arrangement was for Jeff Urso and Duffers to be at the football games with the school district?
No, I don't, but I know it's not what the city always asks for. And the thing is that comes from the boosters. And the only reason my understanding is because typically you'd have volunteers come out, like the fire department cooking or the police department or whoever cooking and all that. And all the people that worked there were booster uh, volunteers, parents, typically parents. And that changed where now they had to pay the kids to do it, which, that model doesn't work. So I don't know what the revenue, I know Jeff gets a cut, a pretty good cut, but it's also if the high school didn't do, what were they going to do? I mean,
Yeah, I mean it. Like I said, it vastly improved. Because
but
I
I
remember
do
the
know
first
it's
year
not
we were
even
here, it was
close.
the old model.
Yeah, I
And
know it's not even close to what the city waxes or tries to
well,
wax for.
again, fair public policy point to say,
I
is
wonder
it
why they
worth
do
the
that.
extra revenue?
Why do they do that? Because they
I
don't
don't,
want the money?
Because
Governments,
they'd rather, I think the city tries, my impression is the city tries to get revenue any way it can without raising property taxes. So they look for
doesn't appear
alternative
so.
things.
Unless Kemper's
Building
1
fees.
million.
Look, I had to pay a $65 fee to
I think
change my
Kemper gets a
water
million a
heater.
year. Kemper gets a million
When our water
a year.
heater broke, to get
whatever
it,
Kemper's deal is, it's well worth it. I mean, they're not, the city's not paying Kemper anywhere near what Kemper charges other communities, and it's solely because of what they've done. And there should be the rec and the city, every renewal that comes up, that should be renewed, no questions about it.
It just
Kemper
got
bends
renewed.
over backwards and does stuff that is not even in their contract just to
so why not?
support the city.
Why couldn't you have Kemper at the beach or
Well, they
at
do,
the
Joe. They
fireworks?
they do have some Kemper there, but
Okay,
it's a model that doesn't. I mean, Kemper's doing it out of
doesn't
they get
work.
a little bit, but not anything. You have to staff it. You have to have people
So at
down
that point, you
there.
might as well let Duffers or Left Bank or somebody come in, right?
No, they should be taking that South Pavilion at the beach, making it a restaurant. Can you imagine the South
Skoo,
Beach?
what I'm
That
saying is, look, governments know how to spend money. They don't know how to make money. So what is their reluctance in doing this? They don't care or they don't want it.
I think based on my experience with this is that it's a staffing issue. And I like to call it's a whining staffing issue. Oh, if we do something nice, we got to staff it. We don't have the money to do it, and it just that's what it goes on. And
So they don't know how to do a
and like
business
you
plan.
said, imagine if there was a fully staffed restaurant. I mean, and I know Pasquazi's has requested to do this for years to do it, and when you do the margins, it's like I can't staff and do and pay all this expense when the city's taking it from me. Why wouldn't you want them down there? City, here's the thing. Don't charge them. If it's a local business like Pasquazi's or Duffers, or let them do their thing down there. It only makes the beach better. It's not, you can have people, they tried
I don't, I
the
mean, I'd
beer and
love to see
wine
the
thing.
spread. I'd love, at the end of the day, the numbers are the numbers. So I'd love to see what the spreadsheet was that they made that decision off
I
of.
got
But
it. I'll send it over to you.
I agree with you, Skoo, on this one in concept that I would try to, I would try to put local businesses in there.
I wouldn't even say
Um,
local business, just one. I mean, Pasquazi's from
businesses that
from
are
day
in the
one of
city of Lake
Pasquazi's, they
Forest.
used to pedal their bike down there with this hot dog stuff and peddle
Sure.
hot dogs and
Great.
all that down there.
Well, they got their
And,
new card out. They're going to be there, right? For 4.
How about once upon a bagel? Put them in there. They could be in there. I mean,
Bring the flies.
but it's something that, the
stop.
alternative is the city doesn't want to let a business down there, but the alternative is what? Nothing. I mean, at least have an alternative.
So, but what, I guess, is it apathy? They don't care, or like what? Just can you nail it down to why they're letting this happen? Because to me, it seems like common sense that
They have the facilities.
yeah.
Some say, oh, the kitchen's not enough to do a lot of cooking, but again, if it's not,
Well,
make
here's the question I would have from an operational standpoint is
Well, nobody's answered the
you
question.
obviously only have so many days
it's
a
apathy,
year.
Pete.
Thank you.
You only have so many days a year that people are going to the beach en masse, right?
Joe, let's put
Because
it this way. Everything's not shouldn't
nobody's there in the
just
winter
just
time
like
other
just like
than
the
joggers.
the rec department. This community is about, everything's not a revenue generator. It shouldn't be. We,
I understand that, but
do we charge to
if
go down to
the
the beach?
I I will
Play
say
tennis.
I'd
But
rather have the city get the revenue that way than raising my property taxes. But
I'd rather have the city install someone like Pasquazi's to do it and run the food down at the
I
beach,
do
or
think,
Jeff
like I
Urso,
said,
and let them do
I
their
think you
thing.
would get more property taxes and sales taxes in the long run if you let the local businesses like like Left Bank, like Duffers, like
And
whoever.
it doesn't matter how much time there. If they had a menu down there from, uh, May to November, or whatever, and you can go down there with your family at 6 o'clock and order chicken nuggets or whatever and sit down and have a nice dinner there. Why not? I mean, you're telling me Jeff Urso could not staff that place and have, people go down there all the time to
Or
have dinner
you
and
could
cook.
rotate
And
it. If there was enough interest, you could say, okay, this week is Duffers, next week is Left Bank, next week is Once Upon a Bagel, next week is
School,
Gerhardt's. I mean, you got a whole.
school, last question. I keep mentioning that Gurney guy, the guy that's in charge of Parks and Rec. He's been here over a year, I think. Is the honeymoon over for this guy, or what? You know, is he doing everything he should be doing? I'm just asking.
well, I don't see any new programs at Deer Path Park generating revenue that they were promised.
There you
Or do I
go.
see anything in the near future on that? That
So,
to me, whoever that new person was, you're walking into a multi-million-dollar facility that you committed to the community that you would have additional programming down there
You're
and
talking
revenue
about Mike
generate.
Wick.
pull
Not
up it.
even close.
Read
I
the
go there
press
all the
I don't
release.
know.
time.
I mean,
I don't know him personally, but here's the
I,
biggest. I think he will eventually do a good job. It's a it's a jewel job anywhere around. He landed a fantastic job, but I'm telling you,
I
people are going
think
to start screaming that thing should be generating money, and it's not. And there's ways to
the
do it.
challenge you have is you come from the Park District world
That's the
where
biggest problem. Yeah,
you come from that world of a park district with a separately elected board, which is their
big
sole
time.
budget is the park district,
right. And you
to
get tax money.
being
You can
a
raise taxes.
department in the city that is competing with the police department, the fire department, the public
Here,
works.
I can guarantee you that guy took the job, and the first day he walked in, he goes, "Wait, how much do I get? How much money do I get from the city?"
I I
I
have a feeling you
can't.
probably did more
I
research than
guarantee you,
that,
Joe,
but
he came in there and they were interviewing. I want to do X, Y, and Z. And it came in and go, how much money do I have? And how do I
I'm
get
told he
there?
did a very good job in Gurney, and
Oh,
so
yeah.
I don't know.
But
I
it's
mean, like I said,
like you said, Joe, it's a different animal
you
when you
could
have your own
there
tax
are
base.
but Skoo, there are other cities that
A
have
lot.
said, you know what, we're going to make a separate park district. Let them
Mhm.
elect a board. Let them levy their own taxes. You could go that route,
Right.
but fasten your seatbelt when you get your tax bill because your
Right.
property taxes will go up a
That's
lot.
one of the very unique things about this community. And to years ago, they switched the pitch on the rec and say, you got to make profit. That's when it all started going.
Skoo, Sally did 30 years before this new guy. How are things running with her versus like now or different?
How are things different?
Yeah, I'm just wondering. Did we have
Sally
problems?
Sally got the park done. This guy's walking in, all he has to do is manage it and generate revenue off it. He
So
should, if he was smart, he would be calling maybe even a Kemper who actually manages stuff like this and can
they're
bring
already
it.
donating money to the beach.
You're saying he had. I'm gonna go out on a limb
You
and
have
bet
someone
that
on
he has
staff.
spoken to Kemper since he's been hired. I'm just gonna go out on a limb.
I'll go on that same limb. And I said, I'll bet you $100 he hasn't.
You'll
Bet you.
probably never know the answer to that, but
Oh, I know the answer to it, Joe.
why you talk to Kemper?
Yep.
Oh, oh.
They
Oh
can do
boy.
that. They can pick up that baton and
There's a bus that just ran
generate
over
it.
Kemper on Oakwood.
But
And it was going
they
20
can.
miles an hour.
They should. They should turn it over to someone like that. Not to say that
Look,
rec
I
cannot do that, but with
like I
with
said,
that dollar spend they put in it, you need to hire a third party that's an expert in bringing in
So,
that
so Sally put that
management.
$500,000 tennis court in? Is that
No.
under her watch or this
No,
guy who doesn't matter? All right.
no. Well, it's not. No, Sally's
mean, like I said, you
hired at
could,
the end of last year.
Okay.
if you're gonna say it's a fair point to say no city tennis courts, but then no city golf course, no city rec center, no city nothing except for just grassy parks.
Why would you say no city tennis courts?
If you're gonna go that, if you're gonna be a bear, be a grizzly bear.
What do you mean?
Meaning
I
you
think a
you
black
go
bear.
back to what the original intent of parks were, which was simply to
Bears,
preserve open land in
beets,
an urban or suburban environment.
Dwight
Because
Schrute.
if you didn't, parks were created because otherwise
A
every
black
square
bear.
inch
You
of
don't
land
understand
would
what a
have
black
been
bear could do.
Bear.
They're the most aggressive bears in the
every
game.
every square inch of land would have become some type of building. So parks were done to preserve open land, kind of like
I'm sorry, what, Joe?
Joe. Joe. Skoo. Another great
Pay
episode.
attention. Hey, up here, eyes up here.
Have a great fourth. Whatever webpage you look at for the information.
We'll see you.
Go to the fireworks. Hey, thank
Go
God
towards
for
the light.
Friends of the Forest. If you think your taxes are high now, if it wasn't for the Friends, it would be
May
higher.
the fourth be with you.
Dwight K.
Go
Schrute.
support the fireworks. I'd rather pay for
Bears.
fireworks than property taxes.
Beats bears.
The Lake Forest Podcast is supported by viewers, listeners, and businesses just like you. Michelle Parnell has lived and worked in Lake Forest for over 2 decades. Michelle's lending experience, when combined with her real estate expertise, makes her an invaluable asset to her clients as they navigate their home buying or selling process. Call Michelle now at 847-528-8721, 847-528-8721. For the best cannabis in the world, look no further than Iliad Epic Grow. Owned by Lake Bluff's own Rich Ruzich, they are a cannabis cultivation center focusing on hard-to-find small batch products that will delight both the occasional user and ganjier. When visiting Michigan, ask for it by name. Epic Products, exceptional process. For more information, email info@iliadgrow.com. Laracy & Company CPAs, founded in 2010 by Lake Forest's own Brian Laracy, specializes in tax preparation and bookkeeping services. Earning the People Love Us on Yelp award, their process is straightforward. Just upload, review, and file. For a free quote, visit LaracyCPA.com now. That's LARISEYCPA.com. I'm excited to share with you something special from our Lake Forest community, the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa located at 775 North Bank Lane in Lake Forest near Wisconsin Avenue. This just isn't any spa. They offer an amazing blend of traditional spa services plus the added benefit of medical procedures and treatments. In a relaxing and luxurious spa environment, you can enjoy a range of cosmetic and aesthetic treatments. These are all performed under the supervision of top medical professionals. The Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa provides skin care, facial rejuvenation, body contouring, laser hair removal, Botox, dermal fillers, chemical peels, and much more. What's great is that each treatment is tailored not just to enhance your appearance, but also to address specific skin concerns and to promote overall well-being. So if you're looking to pamper yourself and take your beauty routine to the next level, give the Aesthetic Lounge Med Spa a call at 224-768-8028 or visit them at their location on North Bank Lane. It's an experience your skin will thank you for. We'd also like to say we're thankful for our Patreon supporters, Otto, John C., Helen, Herrick, J.M., and Paul G.